Hello.
Welcome to the Fin Factor Live before episode number 19 shooting. Obviously, this is not Aaron. Aaron is out in Boston, I believe is what it is.
East Coast.
Yeah, visiting some family. So we had a friend Marshall stand in his place.
Yep. Decidedly not Aaron, though equally balding white guy. So I think it kind of works okay.
Got the beard thing going on too.
Got the beard thing, kind of half playoff beard
Yeah.
going.
I think if you squint, you won't notice the difference. So it'll be all right. No, but Marsh, you've been to several games. You've been the season ticket holder for quite a while as well.
Yeah, I guess my hockey bona fides, if you will.
Yeah.
I grew up in the Bay Area. Grew up going to the Cal Palace games when the Sharks started.
Nice.
I used to skate at what is now their Sharks Ice in Fremont, the
Okay.
Isoplex back in the day.
Oh wow, Isoplex.
Which is a long time ago. Yeah. Season ticket holder for 10 years with Aaron. I was the other half of the Aaron and Marshall season ticket holder show. I sadly, when we quit getting them 2 seasons ago, I sadly was in China for the Stanley Cup final and didn't get to go to those games, which is something I regret to this day. But I've done a lot of Sharks hockey, do that hockey,
Yeah, do that hockey, good. So if you guys have any questions or comments specifically about the week in review, if you will, please go ahead and send those in. Let us know. We've got our producer Jason is on the laptop right now, so he'll feed us some questions as we go. So who's on right now? I know we had somebody that was waiting.
You got the imposter who says Marshall looks just like Aaron.
Oh.
Perfect. That was the only thing we were looking for, is a stand-in for what Aaron looks like, irrespective of hockey knowledge. Just so happens I do know some hockey. We'll see if it's more or less than Aaron.
He's actually running on animatronics right now. It's not a person. Just
the puppeteer back behind. Yes, exactly.
Nice. So we've got some pretty good topics for this week's show. Gosh, there was a lot of, it was only 2 games, but there was quite a bit of action, quite a lot to talk about, so really interested. You got
Mac. Do you know the total number of fights that happened at last night's game? Great game and fights.
I am going to turn over all things fisticuffs to Marshall because he admitted to me that fisticuffs are one of the more exciting parts of the game for him.
Well, it's certainly something I appreciate about hockey. Paul, we haven't talked a ton about it before, but I think hockey is a great sport where the people who like fighting, I think, we talk about, okay, it's self-policing, right? You can control the tempo and temperature of the game by allowing people who are running around with, razor blades attached to their feet and everything's hard and someone's got a weapon in their hand.
Right.
There's things that referees aren't going to be able to handle, and fisticuffs are a great way, I think, that hockey's kind of helped curtail that. There's risk, and yes, people get hurt sometimes, but I think these are big boys who get paid a lot. Let's see, last game, I think there were only 2 official fights, two sets of fighting majors. I think the one where it was the big Donnybrook with Burns and everything else, nobody in there got fights. They all just got game misconduct. So technically speaking, there were only 2 fights. Although
3 10-minute misconducts on the Islanders, and then Brenzy got the other 10.
Yeah, he got tossed, but they didn't call any of those, real. Yeah. Even though there were a few punches thrown, they weren't actual
roughing,
fighting.
And misconduct.
Roughing. I love the roughings. But we'll talk about it, I'm sure, on the show. But we were talking about Joachim Ryan the game before. That was the first fight for him of his career and the first fight for the Sharks of the season. So lots of things to kick around.
Yeah. So there was at least just the one game. Kane dropped him. I know.
Kane with Lee, captain, and then you had Barclay Goodrow and Mayfield? No. I forget who it was from the Islanders.
Islanders.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What do you guys think of Erik Karlsson coming from Zach Croft?
Hey, Zach, how you doing, man? What do you think about Erik Karlsson?
I mean, you can see it this whole week where I think they've started to figure out he's figured out how to play in the Sharks system. DeBoer's figured out how to use him. The Sharks have figured out how to work with him, particularly on the power play, which I think we'll talk about on the show tonight. I mean, just his movement splitting up with Burns. I mean, it was just a much better showing.
Yeah, I think he's getting a lot more comfortable. There was a nice little move that he put on. I can't remember which game it was, but he went from the blue line, put the puck between someone else's legs, and just walked around him. Just stepped right around him. And it's like, okay, you're showing that your comfort level is getting there, right? You don't do fancy stuff like that when you're trying to fit in and everything, and I think he's comfortable now. Whether or not that's translating to a goal, hopefully sometime soon, that'd be great. Honestly, I'm not on Erik Karlsson goal watch. I'm on Erik Karlsson just make us better watch, and frankly, he's doing the job. So I'm happy with what I'm seeing so far, and he's only going to get better. That's the thing. People are looking at what he's looking like right now, and they're panicking. He's in the minus, right? For instance, not that many people are looking at the plus minus much anymore. I know I've said it on the show, but most people are looking at more advanced stats. You look at things like the possession. He's generating more shots while he's out there. So I'm not too concerned with him, Zach. I think he's going to do great. I think it's still early in the season, and he's still catching up to with the system and what everyone else is expecting, and especially on the power play, his expectations on the power play. So I think we're just going to see him get even better. Yeah. No concern here.
So we got building on that from Keanu Shaw. What do you think about the pairing of Karlsson and Dylan? Because Dylan and Braun haven't looked comfortable together.
Theoretically, putting them together, saying Dylan and Karlsson. You could. You could. The only reason I don't like bringing this stuff up is because, again, we've said this on the show before, we're not Pete DeBoer. Pete DeBoer knows best what to do with the guys on his team. I think having Karlsson play with Vlasic is one of the most deadly pairings in the league. You've got one of the best defensive guys along with one of the best offensive guys in the league. And then even then, Karlsson is no slouch on the defensive end, and Vlasic's no slouch on the offensive side. That's a deadly, deadly pairing. I would hate to break that up.
I mean, I guess I'd almost disagree a little bit about the characterization as well. I thought Dylan and okay, thank you. They looked pretty good at the last game against Islanders. I think keep in mind, game 7, game 8.
Right.
You change every single defensive pairing when Karlsson shows up. My cousin nephew happens to play hockey, for 15 years. He's in the Dallas Stars junior program down in Texas. He's a defenseman, and I can certainly speak to, like, anytime he's had to switch defensemen and learn chemistry, that is unbelievably hard. And at the NHL level, I'm sure they're pretty good at picking that up. However, you change every D pairing, all of a sudden, what people look like in the first 10 games is probably not the best way to measure should they be shuffled just yet. Maybe they should be at some point, but
and to be fair about it and to work off of that too, okay, so we shuffle them again. Well, now they have to learn that guy again, right? Now I know what you're getting at, putting Vlasic and Braun back together, right? But then again, you've got Erik Karlsson, who's the one you're really trying to accommodate here, right? He's the $13 million player that supposedly. And we don't want to keep changing things up on him. We want him to get comfortable. We want him to get going. I think the last thing we need to do is say, you know what, this isn't working after 8 games. We're going to pull your defensive partner out and put you with Brendan Dillon. Arguably, don't want to throw any shade, but arguably not as good as a defensive player or offensive player as Mark-Edouard Vlasic would be. So why would you do that to Karlsson? Doesn't make sense. But no, to your point, I think the characterization is off a little bit too. I think Braun and Dylan, all things considered, have not been bad.
Well, and Braun in particular, I think once he gets comfortable probably with Dylan, I imagine you'll see a little bit more of the offensive piece of his game, because I think when he was paired with Vlasic, he was the offensive member of that duo, as most people are when they're paired with Vlasic. Right. But I think, frankly, our 3D pairings, I don't think Justin Braun is a third line D-man. I mean, he's not a third pairing guy. Right. So to have them down there, and that's true of the entire Sharks lineup on the the wingers and the forwards, you've got talent that usually would be probably 1 or 2 levels up in the pecking order of other teams if you were to put them out there somewhere else.
No, I agree. Yeah. You got another one?
What do you guys think of the Burns solo effort goal from Jason Hiller?
I hated it.
It's terrible.
Of course. It was awesome. Yeah, no, it was great. It was great to see him not only just finally get a goal, but just the means in which he did it. It wasn't a seeing eye shot from the point that just happened to go in, right? Yep. This was hard work. This was him using his edges, him using his skating and stick handling ability that we don't get to see all the time down low. And really just beautiful play, bringing it to the little toe drag and the backhand 5. I mean, this is the stuff that you see from really, really talented forwards. And I know what everyone's going to jump to after that is, why not play Burns as a forward? Well, he's such a great defenseman too. I mean, at least the shot from the point and whatnot. And again, changing things up. We don't want to goof with the lines and whatnot. But yeah, it was just a great goal from a really talented hockey player, and there was really nothing to not like about it. So
yeah, I mean, I think it goes to the comfort level he's felt in the last 2 games. I think the defensive pairings just put the whole team in particular. I mean, I don't think you try that kind of move where you feel you want to do that, even in 4-on-4, where you got a little bit more space, because I think they were just finishing the 4-on-4 at that point. You know, that tells you at least he's got some pretty good confidence in his game in the last 2 games in particular. But I mean, it's just a good signal. I mean, the goal itself, great, awesome individual effort, but I think it just speaks more to just the confidence he's got in what the team's got going and how he feels about how they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think you tend to see players play a little more conservative when they're not too sure. And again, I think that's going back to Karlsson, the question that we had. He's kind of breaking out a little bit. Again, that nice little move that he made at the blue line there, I think maybe he thinks twice about that. If he's kind of in that more conservative, I'm not really sure, you know, still fitting in kind of mode, but I think he's breaking out of that too. So I don't think it's going to be too long before you see something like that out of Erik Karlsson, like the Burns Eagle, and something, just a beautiful little dangle and back of the net. But
for sure.
Yeah.
The imposter proposes a first line here with Dylan needs to play with Burns, Braun, and Karlsson. Thoughts?
Dylan with Burns, and then Braun with Karlsson.
So Vlasic with Ryan, then I guess would be the third pairing. That seems a little off, I guess, if I'm gonna, if only because I mean, depending on what you're trying to do, it's like, what's the point of that pairing to accomplish kind of what you're kind of putting? It seems like you're not matching defensive play, a good defensive player with the. I mean, the whole point of having Vlasic with Braun or Karlsson, you could have them with probably either, is just to help cover for the fact that their first instinct in most cases is going to be go forward. As opposed to let me start backing up.
And for me, it's easy. I just fall back on we're not Pete DeBoer again. I mean, again, he's got this figured out. I don't think that there's a problem that needs to be solved on the defensive pairing side. I think it's just a gelling is all it is. And again, if you were talking about, hey, what about using these lines? Let's throw Pete DeBoer out the window real quick. If you're to say, what do you think about these pairings before the season started? Okay, maybe there'd be a discussion there, but I think after the fact, when the season's already on its way and already going, again, we go back to we wouldn't want to throw a wrench into the gelling and the chemistry that's already starting to be built between these pairs. So to just change everybody all the way up again, you're just going to have all these guys trying to learn each other again, and it's just going to be a hard time out there. So I don't think you're going to see any shakeups on the defensive pairing sides, at least 5-on-5. Unless you see like an injury or something to that effect.
Yeah, I mean, particularly, the last 2 games, I don't think you see changes in the lineup at all.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Thornton, maybe if he feels good enough to come back in the next week, but I don't know why, if you're Pete DeBoer, you'd change after those 2 games much of anything, frankly. Maybe wait until something, breaks, and then you'll say,
I'm good with that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's broken. I think we're okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of broke, a fan says you should straighten out your shirt, Marshall, because it's relaxed when you're sitting. They want to see that beautiful Sharks logo.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's my.
I was looking for a chance to tell them, but
my
you guys
fault.
are blowing.
You made me
I'm glad I
self-conscious.
said broke then.
I'm already self-conscious about being a balding guy under very bright lights, and now I got to worry about the logo on the shirt. All right.
Now you look great.
I didn't know the level I needed to be at here. You guys hold high standards here on the Fin Factor. I should have known that before I rolled in.
So you got a combined question here from Harley and from Sam. How many goals do you think Timo will get? How many goals do you think Karlsson's going to get this season?
Let's see. Timo, I think it's going to be a really good year for him. I mean, watching him in the playoffs, in particular last season, I think you've seen just kind of progression each of the last 3 seasons where he's going to be a good power forward. I mean, he's kind of got the Tomas Hertl size, if you will, he's not the kind of possession guy that Tomas is, but I think Timo's got more of the power part of the power forward where he's just going to run people
Crash
over.
And bang,
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see him, particularly with the pairing of the centerman we have him with, or the centerman we have, where he's going to be be able to kind of play that role, I think, with any line he ends up on, and the chemistry that's already being built. So
yeah, I think if I'm giving a number, I would say 25 for Timo. That might even be conservative. I don't know, but
be interesting. I think a 20-goal scorer is probably 20 plus is probably spot on.
I would say in that realm, and if they keep rolling the way that they're rolling, and I mean the line that he's on too, I mean there's pretty talented guys that he's playing with, so I could definitely see him getting upwards of 25. I could see him hitting that. Now Carlson, I don't know about Carlson. I think gets more assists than goals. I know Burnsy gets more. He still gets more assists than goals, but Burnsy gets more goals, I think, than Carlson does. But Carlson gets more assists.
Well, you can see it, I think, in the games, the last 2 games in particular, where it's high scoring, yet watching Carlson, I think his first bias in a lot of cases is he's kind of got the shot pass thing going on.
Okay, yeah.
He doesn't seem to be trying to put it...
Fires it just a bit wide.
Yeah, he's not putting it directly on goal, and he's not that bad of a player where that isn't anything but intentional. I mean, I think he's trying to get people either a deflection or people trying to tip in versus Burns. I think his first, second, third instinct is always to shoot.
Put it on net.
whether it goes wide or on net, that's a whole different story. Yeah. But I think you're right. Carlson will probably have, I imagine his assist total here will take a step up given the team he's on versus Ottawa. But I don't know that his goal scoring is going to be huge.
I think Aaron was guessing that they would both be in the 60, 70-ish point area. I think maybe about 70 points. I could see Burns getting, more on the goal line, like up to 20-ish or so, maybe, and then Carlson getting closer to like 12, something like that on the goals. I'm not looking for Carlson to score tons of goals. That's the thing. I look at a player like Joe Thornton, and he's had like maybe 3 goals his whole career, and it's just the rest are assists, right? So does that make him any less of a player? No, it means he's setting up all kinds of goals left and right. I have no problem if Erik Karlsson's setting up all kinds of goals left and right. That's fine with me,
Yeah. I actually think the Sharks, if I had to guess this year, and the question was for Timo and Karlsson, I bet you'll probably see almost like a leveling out of the team. I think there's so much talent now, but it's diverse, or it's diffused across all 4 lines and all 3 pairings of defensemen that you might see the Coutures and Pavelskis, like their numbers conceivably could drop, but I think you might see so much pickup elsewhere, and DeBoer being able to roll all 4 lines on a very consistent basis, hopefully. Because if we're not, that's means we're not playing all that well. I think you might see kind of almost like the Nashville style of just point distribution. Yeah, you can kind of say, hey, fine, you throw your top line out against these guys, great. We'll roll this other line with Sulamela and Donskoy, and they'll figure it out.
It's been a great line.
Yeah. Being able to talk Finnish to each other somehow, it must be like it's like their own little secret code.
Yeah.
So we got a line question related to that. Rosham Joe is checking in here. He loves Big Joe.
That's a great name.
Yeah, he loves Big Joe, but he's also loving that the Sharks what the Sharks have looked like the last few games without him. So hands down, he thinks he'll make the Joe Thornton line better when he's back. But which line is that going to be?
I like that you said, and I know you did it on purpose, Joe. I like that you said the Joe Thornton line. It's something that we'd been talking about on the show. We hadn't brought up with you, but instead of labeling lines as 1, 2, 3, and 4, because the lines are so deep, like you just talked about, right?
Yeah.
That Sumela line could conceivably be, a second line on some other teams. So I don't think it's fair to say, because it was like Sumela with Donskoy and Kane. That is not a third line, right? And on any other team, that's not a third line. So I've been trying to say, the Thornton line, the Sumela line, the Couture line, to kind of make it so it's not so much like, it's the third line. It makes it sound almost, like they're not that great. But thank you, Joe, for saying on the Thornton line. Now, which line is the Thornton line? I'm stuck, man. I don't really know where to go with that, and it's one of the things that we are going to talk about tonight.
I guess the big question, frankly, it's like, okay, Joe Thornton gets healthy. The luxury is, with the last 2 games in particular, similar to kind of last year a little bit, you can rest him and not force any kind of rush back at all. Yet, I think it's a good problem to have, but it causes a lot of like, okay, wait a minute, if everything's rolling, who do I displace? Who do I take out of the lineup? First of all, then do I have to move my lines around even more than just the one person?
So if we go back to before Joe got injured, okay, so let's say Joe's on the Thornton line, right? That puts Kane back on the Sumela line. So then you've got, what was it, Rourke Chartier had jumped in when Thornton went out, right?
Yep.
So let's just say Chartier is the guy, the odd man out, and he goes out. Do you put Thornton back on the Thornton line, or do you make the Thornton line the one that's got Goodrow, Thornton, and, oh boy, Carlson, Melker Carlson? Honestly, I would be really excited to see him play alongside Goodrow and Melker, because that means you've got an all-star, Hall of Fame caliber player centering two guys that can go grind it out and just make those two guys even better. Yeah. If you can get the Joe Thornton effect to happen on your conceivably fourth line, and you still got your top other three lines that are rolling just the way they're rolling, can you imagine how deadly that is? Like,
well, it's one of those things I think people were talking about at the beginning of the season and even last year, although they figured it out last year. I think Pavelski and Thornton on the same line, that worked some of last year. Some of it didn't at the beginning in particular. I think, I keep saying this to a bunch of, Aaron included, that Pavelski, I think, has slowed a little bit. So putting him and Thornton on the same line, the first couple games of this season when they were playing together, they look slow. Joe Thornton, the home opener, like his timing was off, which is different than being slow. The timing will come back. Right. But I think you almost would do yourself a favor. Whoever you put them with I actually don't think they should be together anymore, because I think the speed of the game now, you need two guys alongside of Thornton who are going to, dump and chase, bang around with big bodies and get him the puck, and then he'll dish it back to them. I just think that having him and Pavelski on the same line is not ideal.
That's fair. Yeah. Fair assessment. Got another one? Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk about the Sumela line looking dominant in the last game? That came from Keanu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were
good.
I mean, you put two Finnish people on the same line, they seem to be able to communicate well, and no one can understand what they're saying. So,
a couple things actually. Yeah, one was what a beautiful defensive effort in the offensive zone when I don't know who it was, but Islanders defensemen were trying to break out, and he gets a stick out in the lane, boom, picks it off. And he's by himself, in the high slot, brings it in, takes a shot, doesn't go in. Presence of mind to turn around, and I believe he looked and saw. I don't think he just tossed it out in the crease. I believe he turned and saw Donskoy streaking and put the puck to him, and Donskoy finishes. I mean, just really good hard work from Antti Sumela, coming in and just doing a great job taking over for Chris Tierney where Chris Tierney left off. Yeah. I can't say enough about the guy in terms of being a player. I will also say that I went to the practice today, saw Antti Sumela on the way out, and I was like, hey, would you mind just signing something for me? And my son was there with my my adult league jersey, right? Yep. And I made a smaller version for him. So it's Wolfpack, it's bright orange like that. And Sumela signed the inside of it, the sleeve for him, Antti Sumela.
Sweet.
He doesn't really even know who Sumela is, but he was jazzed. And the funny thing is, Sumela was as pumped up to sign it for him as my son was to get the signature. Like, it's just one of those things where it's, he probably hasn't realized like who he is in the NHL yet, and he's like, oh yeah, cool, I'll sign it, So really cool guy, really nice guy. Spoke a little bit of English, so it wasn't bad.
Well, they, I think it's like Donskoy, where, I don't know who they have in the scouting department for the Sharks in Finland or the Nordics, but they've pulled Donskoy after he was in the Finnish Elite League for a couple of years. Yep. Same thing with Sumela. So he's not people think he's a new player, therefore rookie. It's like, no, he's actually played at a very high level in the best league in Finland for, I think, a couple of seasons. So he's in his early 20s, but he's not a complete rook, if you will. There was a play in the third period. It didn't work out, but he actually was behind the net. It was in the last 5 minutes or something like that. He actually tried to chip the puck over the net into the front of the crease, and like it was going, and then I think Lerner tapped it out or something. I was like, how do you even think to do that, let alone
see? And the funny thing is
make it happen.
That goes back to being comfortable and doing things on the ice that are a little bit more risky, right? As opposed to playing so conservative. So it's nice to hear like things like that where he's trying little chip plays like this, that are like kind of outside of the book, of how to play the game. It just means he's feeling more comfortable, which is great. I think you're going to see that line doing even better the more comfortable he gets. He's a really big piece of that line. I know Donskoy is kind of like the elder statesman for that line, but I mean, Suomela is really jumping in, and again, he's done just such a phenomenal job. I'm really blown away, and I'm really glad that we got him.
Yeah,
agreed. So from that, when we go on the road trip, Nashville, Carolina, Anaheim, you got Jason and Rosham Joe chiming in here. Nashville's going to be rough, although Rene is on injured reserve now, he believes.
Yes.
But not sure about Carolina, and love to see us give a good pummeling to the Ducks.
Yeah, there's no, but Rene is out, so we should be okay. UC Saros is a phenomenal goaltender.
The real deal.
It's not a step down. It's a lateral step. So I would not take that lightly whatsoever.
Well, and he's not only a great goalie, I think, and he already played one game, but he's good goalie. He's not a big step down, kind of 1A, 1B almost. But in front of him is the one team I think that our defensive core, after acquiring Erik Karlsson, was compared to. Yeah. So, they have kind of three really good pairings of quality defensemen where, you got to get through them first to even get to the goalie. So.
Yeah. Did you mention what Thornton looked like in practice lately?
No, I did not,
okay.
And I'll bring it up during the show too. But actually, I tweeted about it anyway, so it's fine. I went to the practice, and everybody left the ice except for Schimmick, Heed, and Thornton. They were the last three on the ice. Schimmick and Heed, obviously, they're not in the lineup right now, so any extra time they can get, they take it. And the coaching staff, really awesome guys. They stayed out there with them pretty much the entire time until they had to leave because there was a game actually that was going to be played. There's a big junior tournament that was going on. They had the junior Sharks, junior Kings, junior Ducks, junior everybody was out there.
Yep.
So Jumbo was out there, and I mean, I got to say, this guy, it's almost inspiring if there was anything for me to aspire to. But I mean, he was really chugging real hard. I mean, this guy was doing lots of start stops back and forth. One of the drills that he was doing was they'd pass the puck to him, he'd pass it back, charge to the net. They'd pass to him, and he'd one-time it while he's stopping, and then he'd jet back. And it's basically him just doing line sprints for, like, I don't know, 3 minutes or whatever it is, back and forth while they're just firing pucks at him, and he's firing pucks back and putting them in the net. Then he went on to, like, the next station, and he's going, like, in and out of these tires with the puck, without the puck, and skating backwards and stick handling between a cone. Going through, there's like pegs with a stick across, and he's going in and out. And he did this drill, I think, was like 8 times, wow. and just him going top speed. And you can see him just at the end of it, just he's beat, he's dead tired, but he kept going. Like he just kept going. Like every time I thought, okay, he's done. He's like, okay, let's do it again. I was like, dude, it's exhausting watching you. And then he went to the next station. Like, this guy is just a horse.
Yeah.
So you can call him old, you can call him slow, but one thing you can't call him is not dedicated. And you can't call him that he's, like, not in shape. That's for sure, because this guy is just, he just chugs, and he just keeps going. That guy's heart is this big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For us novices, Paul, who don't go to Sharks practices, I've been to their training camps and lead up to the season. What time are the practices? How do you get to go into them?
Yeah. So if you want to go to a practice, it's really, you just have to know the time. And I think someone's posted up the schedule. If we could figure out how to post a schedule for you guys or something, we'll do that and we'll put it on Twitter or whatever it is. What's that? Website. Yeah, we'll put it on the website too, thefinfactor.com. And you can put the thing in there for maybe. No. Anyway, we're live. Can't do that. So the finfactor.com, we'll put the schedule up maybe there. And so basically all you have to do is just show up. That's really all there is to it. You have to go through the south rink doors at the front entrance, and they have a little security thing you have to go through, just like when you go into the tank. And that's it. That's really all there is to it. You go in there and you sit down and you watch them practice. Now, the thing most people don't know, and I'll wrap it up quick, is after the practice, as they're coming on, yes, you can stand by there and say hi and everything else, and maybe they'll sign something for you. But after that, you can go behind the south rink. There's an area where all their cars are parked, and there's cones blocking it off, so you can't go back there. But you can go on the side of the fence, and you can go over have them come over the fence and sign stuff for you. So if you're looking for signatures, you can go after the practice is done, stand on the other side of the fence, ask them politely to come to you. Don't expect Erik Karlsson or Evander Kane. I've not seen either of those guys stop for anybody. But other than that, yeah, it's been a pretty good experience going to the practices and being able to talk to them after the game. So with that, unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all your comments, for just being you. Thank you for being you.
Thank you.
So we're going to get to recording. Marshall and I are going to take over where Aaron left off, and we'll have Aaron back next week. That's basically it. So thank you again. We will see you guys probably Monday.